We got some new ideals out here. We got some interesting ideals out here. We got a lot of snow out here. We got the month of April coming into us, and we still have reports that there's going to be another snowstorm happening sooner than later. But will that stop us from going straight forward to this weekend? Not really, because I don't even know why should we even just say that we should continue going skiing, for crying out loud. Because at this moment, how many people would even say, let's go skiing right now? Barry, yeah, how many people even want to drive a snowmobile unless if they're trying to drive it through water or even any other type of stuff? I have seen drag racing snowmobiles, drag racing in the summertime, so that could be a possibility for the heck of it. But today, this has nothing to do with that type of sports. This is all about boxing, ladies and gentlemen. And I like to say, welcome back to the Mr. Gloat podcast. Today, guys, the week has started off strong. And technically, what a strong year. We've had ups and downs. We had undefeated fighters that have lost. We have fighters that might even go on retirement. But again, I really can't say this is the ideal way to go straight forward and say to ourselves, this idea can work. But again, I can't really go forward like that until we get all the information here. But again, guys, we are going to have interesting stuff to talk about because the next title fights are about to come around midnight in Eastern time, because in the Korakuen Hall we have Samiri Yamanaka versus Nao Ugawa, two Japanese women. They're going to try to fight for their first Japanese title to finally get back to the autumn weight, since Samiri Yamanaka lost last April. And again, guys, what has happened in the division for that? Well, guys, here's the problem. Camille Zamorano is this 18-year-old girl who was 17 years old last year. She's been dominating, murdering Mika Iwakawa in June for the interim WBC belt. She defeats Sana Hazuki, a journeyman fighter. And both of these Japanese girls boxed in Mexico, so they had no business even boxing there. So it just goes to show you that these Japanese girls had no chance. And speaking about Japanese girls going out of their country, another one named Marina Loreto, an 8-0-2 fighter, undefeated, fought for the vacant WBO belt in December last year against a Romanian Switzerland fighter named Gabriela Timmer in her country, in Switzerland. And this 39-year-old woman just managed to defeat this Japanese woman easily. The WBO belt was fought with two Mexican women, or so I thought. Pretty much, one was Isabel Rivero, who was actually a Spanish woman, and Sylvia Torres is Spanish as well. So they fought for the vacant WBA belt in November. So it's great that we have a chance for Japan to get their opportunity back, because it just seems like this was an unlucky situation. A lot of women in Japan are faltering a lot. So we just hope Mizuki Hiruda gets her opportunity. And speaking about Mizuki Hiruda, before we get to that information, guys, it is worth knowing right now that she will fight again in May the 23rd, and information-wise will come to us because she will be in the headline for Alexander Usyk and Rico Verhoeven in Giza. So, yeah, they already have new fighters with Jack Catterall taking on Shakram Giazlov, a 17-0 undefeated fighter. Good luck with him taking on Jack Catterall. Frank Sanchez and Richard Torres Jr. are fighting for their elimination for the IBF spot. Good luck with both of them. Hamza Shiraz is a 22-0-1 fighter. He went up to super middleweight. He's number 3, taking on ranked 40 Alam Bejic for the vacant WBO World Super Middleweight Championship that same night. While Mizuki Hiruda is taking on May Solomon. And boy, oh boy, looking up that woman's resume, I'm expecting an upset. But to be honest, guys, who knows? All I know is the two heavyweight fights and also the welterweight fight I will find interesting. two undefeated fighters where we have a British taking on Alan Bejic, who is actually a German fighter, 39 years old, past his prime. But he is a WBO European super middleweight champion, so I can understand that. He hasn't fought since April of last year ago. And most importantly, but again, Mizuki Hiruta, Alexander Usyk, Catterall, Hamza Shiraz with Richard Torres and Frank Sanchez. This is a pretty good card for what it is. And for Rico Verhoeven, if he does become the first boxer to win a world champion in men's boxing in their second pro fight, which we only have had two boxers in history that have won a world title in their third pro fight, which we know the Ukrainian fighter and a fighter in the 70s that was a former kickboxer, Thai fighter himself, and he did it in 3 professional fights to become world champion. And yeah, but crazy. Again, it's going to be interesting to see how this fight card's going to go. We don't know much about the Tyson Fury situation against the Russian fighter, but again, that will be for another time, for the heck of it. But again, guys, I think it's time for me to understand one show that I look back at, and I'm trying to look it up more, but it's hard for me to find information of this. But then again, this one hits me home for all the wrong reasons. This one hits me. Oh boy, this Korakuen Hall on March the 21st in the Korakuen Hall in March the 21st is so bad. It's so bad. Like Dangang Promotions, that's actually been a decade old in Tokyo, they have no idea what they're doing. It's so bad. It's like these girls are so utterly moronically bad. I really don't know what to put in the words, but it makes you wonder how crazily bad it is. Where you have, even though the men's boxing did have one fighter going 2-0, another goes 2-0, 2 other fights didn't really mean much. But again, in female boxing, you have 6 female fights. 2 of them are not that important. We'll make that 3. Where you have one that has a 1-2 record, 1-5, ends in a split decision draw. First atomweight fight. The second atomweight fight is a fighter with an 0-1 and one with an 0-2 record. It doesn't matter who wins. While the third fight has a woman that has an 0-1-1 record, taking on a female debut fighter named Hatsuki Kawano, who manages to win that fight easily. Ranks herself in number 54 out of 50 or 70 female boxers in the atom weight. But can you imagine how terrible the rest of the card is? A friggin' drop on the ocean throws all of this in. Where you have a flyweight division with a woman that has an 0-1-1 record, takes on a debut fighter that's born in Brazil, moves to Japan, and loses in a round 3 TKO. And the second one is a super flyweight fight where it has 2 women in their debut and it ends in a split decision draw. How did this make air for this? How could any of this even be on YouTube or on any website if videos were shown? How could any of this make air? Specifically, it's so impossibly bad that Japanese girls are having a harder time, that they don't have the right mindset than male Japanese fighters. And it makes sense for that because it's like everyone has their own weaknesses. It is weird that you have American women doing good in gymnastics, but men in America are bad. Japanese men are great in gymnastics, but not Japanese women. Japanese women and American women are good in the FIFA World Cup in their own gender, but Asian women from Japan and also American men as well, they're failures. Like Japanese men, Asian men, North American, USA men are bad in FIFA World Cup. It's so impossible that you can throw out all of this. And then you have a woman with a 4-0 record named Mao Nishi for the featherweight title fight for the Japan Boxing Commission, taking on a 4-0-1 fighter named Anera Azawa. And that woman beats her up in 4 rounds, and they go to a technical decision after the end of round 4 and wins the fight. And I'm going to assume Azawa got injured and got lucky winning the fight. She has a 5-0-1 record in the featherweight, ranked 10th, while her opponent, Mao Nishi, it just went down the tube. And that's how it went. They just got there, do this friggin' show, not take care of their fighters, and they ruined it all. That's what upsets me about this entire show. But anyway, well, let's talk about the Renee Santiago World Flyweight title fight. Good night. April the 3rd, 2026, Renee Santiago defends his WBO and WBA Worldwide Flyweight against Masataka Taniguchi. This show, I do have nothing much to say. Now, with one fight being just a normal super featherweight fight against 2 fighters that aren't really that important, and then you have a middleweight fight against Ryusei Kurobi, this man beats up a journeyman fighter, goes in a close majority decision in 8 rounds. He's ranked 229. And then, of course, we have an Oriental Pacific Federation super welterweight fight where a 5-0 fighter named Tsukuru actually defeats a jobber journeyman type fighter after round 7 TKO and pulls out a victory. And he's ranked 120. But the problem is the guy's 39 years old, so there's no point of him being in boxing for that much. So, but that's just about half of the matches. This is the importance. The last 2 matches. Marwan Tapawez, former unified super bantamweight champion, is fighting in the featherweight division. This is a featherweight fight. He's going up to a featherweight to try to battle for a 3rd weight class. And his opponent is Yukinori Oguni. Now, if you don't know who this guy is, Oguni is a 37-year-old veteran Japanese fighter that you can beat him easily by knockout. He suffered 4 knockout losses in his 4 losses, so he's had some draws in his career. And even though he had some early moments in his career that somewhat should have been promising, and surprisingly, he got lucky. Because Oguni was a former IBF World Super Bantamweight champion when he had an upset victory win against Jonathan Guzman, a 22-0 fighter that should have been the easy opponent. And surprisingly, Jonathan from Dominican Republic, who's also still boxing today, but ranked 69, and crazy or not, Jonathan Guzman is a guy that's scored more fights. He had an undefeated record of not just scoring 22 victories, but all of them were by knockout. And out of nowhere, they go the distance after 12 rounds. And Oguni did score a 3rd round knockout on him, and they went the distance in 12 rounds to score 115 and 112 just to settle things right. Now, of course, that might have been an upset victory, and it was a devastating win, but it was a win for Japan there. And even though a year later in September, he lost against Ryosuke Iwasa, and that guy beat him for the belt in September. But then after having the title defense, he would lose against TJ Doheny in 2018. And of course, we can already know how that crazy thing happened. And fun fact, Ryosuke did fight Marlon Tapales in 2019 for the interim IBF Super Bantamweight to win his title back, which he didn't. He lost against MJ Akhmadaliev in 2021. So, and then before you know it, the rest of 2022 and his last fight that was a loss in 2023 was history. But again, considering that being a surprising factor, it didn't stop Oguni to just fight on. Yes, he lost by utter knockout. He had a good, close couple 2-draw fights by a technical draw in 4 rounds, which is weird because I guess they never went the distance as much. So, and one of them was a John Real Casimero fight. But after his first round knockout loss in 2024 and then losing against Subaru Murata last year ago, and that guy would go on to be a bum after he lost in February against some random fighter in a Korakuen Hall last February, it made us wonder that this guy's career was dead. So when watching this, or trying to look up the information in this fight and try to understand, it seemed like Marlon Tapales had an easy win here. Information said that he dominated the first 3 rounds. He went straight into round 4 like never before. But the problem was, some of the judges even gave rounds to Oguni. Mostly one judge just gave all 4 rounds to Tapales. One had it 2-4 and the other had 3-1 for him. So, yeah. And that's a factor because it doesn't matter, because the last 6 rounds, Oguni comes out of nowhere, dominates Marlon, and has the judges giving it 96-94, 97-93, 98-92. And Marlon Tapales at this moment, I just feel like this is the end of his career. Like, if he couldn't even make it half of his rounds count, like, he barely almost makes it halfway through the fight and gets dominated in the last 6 rounds, even though he dominated the first 4. And that's just not it. It's so bad that I just can't really comprehend on that. I just can't. So the Rene Santiago versus Masataka Taniguchi fight. So all those fights, the mid-card fights are all done. Santiago takes on Masataka, and Taniguchi has only suffered a knockout loss once, but suffered only some majority decision losses in his career in 2017 against the good fighters. He did lose against WBO champion Vic Salador, who was champion 2019 at the time. But he would try to go on, recover from those losses. In 2021, he defeats Wilfredo Mendez and has a title defense a year later in 2022. Loses against Melvin Jerusalem in January. And of course, several months later, in August or so, in the summer, Oscar Collazo defeats Jerusalem. So that's something. And even though he lost against Jerusalem by a round 2 TKO, it didn't stop him to take on guys like Thongsak Simsri, who he lost by split decision. And his 2 wins in 2025, not much. But here's my point. This fight is surprising because, like, even though Rene Santiago is taking on a former champion in Japan, and there's other flyweight fights happening, and heck, one of the Japanese fighters took on knockout CP Freshmart just recently, a couple weeks ago, and yeah, not good for that. Not good. So I was questioning this to be a close fight. And surprisingly, even though Masataka had 5 losses in his career, I really never thought to myself that Rene had the opportunity to win. And surprisingly or not, guys, the judges were all foreigners and others. So, yeah, this was an interesting fight. But he had to earn it. Because Rene comes into the first round, dominates. He had problems, but did try to finish off. No. Masataka dominated the first round. The second round, all judges gave it to Rene, but I thought Masataka had a tiny bit enough to win the second round. But of course, the third round was definitely Rene. So it had him there. And then when I thought Masataka was going to finally make a good comeback and win the fourth round, if some people thought round 2 was for Rene, which he did, he gets knocked down in the fifth round. Now, of course, you think, well, that's it, right? Well, not really, because Masataka comes back in the sixth round and wins that round easily. So with the score being 3-2, or they would say 3-2 for Rene, not for Masataka, I give Masataka 3-2. The knockout was effectively the reason for it. But still, take that for what you will. But it just goes to show you how raw, because two of the judges had it widely on the score basis. 117 to 110, 116 to 111. Only one judge and I both agreed the same score. Because in round 7, even though Rene managed to get through that round just about, he dominates round 8. He dominates round 9. And then in round 10, Masataka makes a huge comeback. He dominates or manages to squeak a huge round into it. And then suddenly, in round 11, Rene and Masataka throw every single bone they got into themselves in the 11th round, as some people pointed out, only for Rene to get that round in. Now, of course, 2 of the judges had for Rene, 1 had it for Masataka, which I do find that interesting. But it does make you wonder, what if the 3 judges gave round 2 for Masataka, and just like the other 2 judges that gave it to Rene in the 11th round, they would have given it to Masataka, that would depend. Well, that wouldn't have mattered, because one judge would have had 114 to 113 for Rene either way, so the other had a wide score, so it would have ended up either way. It didn't matter. Eventually, the last round was a huge banger, and Masataka managed to squeak it through, but the damage was done. I had 114 to 113 for Rene because of the knockout in round 5. One of the judges had it similar, so good job for Benoit Rassau. But if you people think that's the only time we're going to have some judge scorecards, some air scorecards, yeah, you are dead wrong. But that's not it. That's not the full show, ladies and gentlemen. There's more stuff to talk about. But that's just a lot of the other crazy stuff happening. But still, they were in the Korakuen Hall. And even though they would go boxing a day later in another show, while Akihito Honda went on to promote a show in April, while Masayuki Ito promoted this show, the title match, on April the 3rd, there's so many other Korakuen Hall shows happening that there's even female boxing matches happening, and I'm questioning a lot of these females are going to be a waste of talent. Depending on who you ask, all I can say is I wish them best of luck. Which is funny. So by the way, guys, I will say, though, there is one information. I know this is old news, and I was going to make YouTube shorts, but unfortunately, my phone is having problems taking me to this new channel here. But the point is, guys, competition is crazy. It just goes to show you that not everyone is going to be a winner. We've had so much crazy stuff happening. Like, you have USA beating Canada in hockey twice in both genders. And then you have the Baseball Classic happening, where Japan dominates. Italy even dominated, defeating the USA. And then, unfortunately, one country beats out Japan, and then they beat out Italy, which is the Dominican Republic. USA managed to squeak out, defeating 2 countries that had undefeated records. So you have USA and Dominican Republic battling in the finals, and USA scores a late home run. Later in the 9th inning, an inning later, Dominicans screwed them on, and America lost their spunk because of that. The problem was both of those teams in the finals had one loss. So what's the moral of the story? Well, Japan barely almost lost their undefeated record 4 years ago in 2023. So the point is, just like Dave Despain said in NASCAR during the tire wars about Hoosier versus Goodyear, tire wars are like any other wars. Nobody won and everybody lost. And even though Dominican Republic won the medal and the champ, but again, all teams lost. None of them stayed undefeated. Even going to the finals, they all failed. So it just goes to show you not every team will be perfect. Not every country will be perfect. And the reason I'm talking about this is that the FIFA World Cup only has barely a tiny handful of FIFA World Cups where there's some years that do have undefeated records of FIFA players going undefeated with no losses and no draws, mind you, and they stayed undefeated with a perfect record. But in FIFA World Cup and Men's World Cup, it's the hardest thing to go undefeated. So, yeah, and I'm thinking that this year in 2026, that's what we're going to get. It's going to be that tough. So, I wouldn't really expect nothing crazy to happen. Like, even the Women's FIFA World Cup have had a lot of crazy moments as well. But again, guys, I really can't say much about that. So, guys, here's the information. So, guys, in the 1st of April, it stated that the WBO and WBA were updated in their rankings, but then a few days later, which was on April the 4th, the WBA updated their rankings again, and the only thing that changed was Jayo Bataya being number 1 in the WBA because his vacancy for the IBF belt is gone. So, there goes that. And also, Gilberto Ramirez still on with David Benavidez. And again, it's going to be a doozy to see how Benavidez can handle it because it seemed like he did a good job with Anthony Yardy, and he did a lot better than his fights with Alexander Glostic in 2024 in his win against David Morrell last year ago. So I can say to myself that this will be a perfect opportunity. Now, guys, Derek Chisora. So, guys, on March the 31st, Derek Chisora, the IBF rankings were updated. And again, nothing changed. Derek Chisora is still number 2 until a few days later. Now, he was number 13 in WBC and number 7 in WBO. And with Deontay Wilder only being ranked number 12 in WBC, and considering how the WBO updated their rankings on the 1st, the 2nd for WBC, and the WBA again in the 4th, and IBF were updated on the 31st of March. I've never seen that before. I never expected all organizations to update their rankings in under less than a week, or even just a couple days apart of each other. Like, that's pretty rare for organizations to update their rankings like that, which is crazy. Now, of course, Jermaine Franklin is out of the rankings. He was number 10 originally. Everyone else went on. Victor Vikhurst went up 2 ranks from number 12 to number 10 today. Nelson Heisa is still number 11, while Richard Ryak Porfi went up 1 to number 12, just like Solomon Dacries, 13. Gustavo Trujillo, bare knuckle champion, he's number 14, went up. Brandon Moore is back in the rankings at number 15. He's also number 15 in the IBF as well, so still, that says a lot. And Justice Hooney is out of the rankings again in the WBC. He was number 15, and now Otto Valine took his spot to number 15. So, yeah, that's ridiculous. And, of course, Moses Atama was number 3 in the WBC last month, but now he's number 2. Gave Joshua number 3 for his. So, and again, and by the way, guys, I forgot the rankings for what the WBA rankings were, but again, with Jermaine Franklin, number 15 in the WBA, does question to me a little bit. Like, anything can go wrong, but again, I really can't say much about that. But again, there is moments here. Now, guys, keep these rankings in mind. We've seen a lot of this, but I think it's probably best to talk about this right now. We're gonna do it right now. So technically, guys, with everything going on, as originally coming down there, down the line, down the open of fire, we came down here to the minimum weight. As just during the same day, we've already went on in California where Manny Pacquiao, the promoter, already promoted a new show in the casino of Temecula, California on April the 3rd on USA DirecTV, going on against with some interesting competition. He had his son Emmanuel Pacquiao Jr. in his second fight. And again, I'm not trusted for his son because he scored a majority draw in November last year. So, like he got a good second round KO. But again, I just don't know if his son has what it takes. The card didn't have much of competition, but not a lot of knockouts in. Pedro Tundren came in with a 19-4-1 record, comes to America to take on a 16-1 of Gustavo Perez Alvarez. And this Mexican fighter had no business being in the ring. Like, he did manage to actually give Pedro a good run for his money in the first couple rounds, as he managed to win a couple. And by the third round, when Pedro finally got his spunk back, he comes into round 4, knocks down Perez twice. He manages to take it easy on him in the 5th round without not scoring a knockout, and comes in round 6, knocks him down again, and then does it in round 7 to score a KO victory at 134. So at this moment, Pedro Tundren is ranked number 2 in the world with his 20th victory, with Oscar Collazo at number 1 and Melvin Jerusalem and number 4. With a Chinese fighter that's not champion. It's going to be interesting to see what we'll see here, because Oscar Collazo was promised that he was going to try to go up the weight class, but at this moment we're trying to see if they can give them an opportunity to fight for an undisputed here. They know that Pedro Tundren and Melvin Jerusalem they're both Philippine fighters, and they just don't want to fight each other against their own titles. I just don't know why that's the case. But again, this shouldn't be a problem neither way. Again, guys, what they should do, Oscar Collazo might fight Melvin Jerusalem. I'm sure there was going to be a good promise. He was supposed to fight him in March either way, so we hope they get an opportunity here. Anything is possible. Fight something that's worth their time, and we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting to see what will happen. Like Pedro Tundren is already on the mix here with a great victory on his hands. So considering that these guys are still young, they are great dudes, and I do find this to be interesting. Like Oscar Collazo is just the man of the year, and he's the best. And even though the light flyweight has Shokichi Iwata, again, he did defeat CP Freshmart in the 15th of March. And you have Sergio Alfonso, a 27-0 fighter, taking on Than Nong Sak Simsri for the IBF light flyweight title, also in the Korakuen Hall on the 13th in just about a week. So, I can just say this is just worth the time and effort to do this. Again, guys, I think what's going to be interesting here is that, guys, this is what I'm expecting. Oscar says that he wants to go up the weight class. So Oscar Collazo does this. He beats up again, like if he fights Melvin Jerusalem a second time, gets the victory. And then maybe early part of 2027, he'll get a fight with Pedro Tundran. And then by that next year, still, we'll have Rene Santiago. And I'm assuming that Sergio Alfonso will defeat Simsri, or else Simsri will put out that wild out of nowhere again, just like Pedro Tundran did to the Mexican fighter of ours that we did not expect him to win that fight. So that's going to be interesting. And guys, people say that they don't pay attention. There's a lot of critics out there that don't pay attention to these lower weight classes. And I'm the only one looking this information up. And I'm more of a lower weight class fan than you can ever say. Even though I'm a big 250, guys, sometimes I weigh 280 pounds and sometimes I weigh 250. And at the end of the day, I don't even know how much I even weigh because it just depends. And I'm a 6'4" tall person, but when it comes to these lower weight classes, both in men and women, it's a doozy. So all I can say is this can bring me an interesting opportunity here, because what I find interesting is that you can say whatever you can say, that this division, the weight class division, is so bad, it's boring, no one cares. It's entertaining if you just look at it as best you can. Now, these guys might not be knockout experts as much, but sometimes you might find those moments happen. And just this year, these lower weight classes that are just at the flyweight are pretty damn good. So if Alfonso does defeat Simsri next week, and depending on what Rene Santiago is going to do in 2027, if he still has both the titles, and let's just assume that he's going to fight Shokichi Iwata, or let's just assume that Iwata takes on Simsri and he beats up Alfonso Mendoza, and they're just going to have their rematch on for just to get back the title that he took away from Knockout CP Freshmart last month. And we'll see what happens then, to see if anything goes to play like that. And if that happens, I don't think we're going to see an undisputed for Rene Santiago or Thamstock Simsri. Like, Sergio Alfonso could be an interesting thing, but what makes this more interesting, that if in 2027, if Oscar Collazo becomes undisputed by the early of 2027, or he might get a lucky title shot in August, and then in December we'll have, or maybe they'll have another November fight for some fight in Saudi Arabia, just like what CP Freshmart and Oscar Collazo did in November 2024. And I called that the mini Rumble in the Jungle, so pretty much I found it fitting. I think we can go straight into that and say this is pretty good. So if Oscar Collazo goes forward, wins a champ, goes undisputed for minimum weight, can you imagine what he can do in the light flyweight? He goes in, fights one of the fighters for the champ. Like, let's just say that Rene Santiago fights Shokichi Iwata, and maybe he might win that. Can you imagine what crazy stuff can happen? Oscar Collazo can go to his country or anywhere else, and they can go all in. Fight for a huge unified champion. And whether Simsri or Alfonso, one of them that do win the fight, and I hope it might be Alfonso, because again, he's Mexican next to the Puerto Ricans from it. And again, just like Rene Santiago, he's Puerto Rican as well. So put that for Oscar Collazo. That will be a doozy of a performance there. It's that true. It's going to be a doozy. So I find that to be an interesting thing, because Oscar Collazo can go undisputed in the minimum weight and take out the Filipino fighters And next year, or even becomes undisputed in 2028, he'll go all in and just go straight in to the light flyweight. Defeat Rene Santiago, take on both of each other's, both Puerto Rican fighters, smashing it into the light flyweight. He goes undisputed again in the light flyweight. And imagine that being the case. While you have Jesse Bam Rodriguez, he's trying to get to his super flyweight undisputed champion. And Wildebardo Garcia, I don't think his health is that good. So someone has to get rid of that belt. He's not going to fight no one. And I'm still trying to find information about him fighting Andrew Maloney and all this other crap. I just don't understand. So I think my only point is about this entire show. And guys, just to let you guys know, this podcast has nothing to do with everything. Like, I know I talk so much about other stuff. And even though the episode is titled Derek Chisora versus Deontay, it's titled about Derek Chisora and Deontay Wilder. That's what this whole show is all about. But I do want to get into these other topics and talking about this because I always think of my radio podcast here. Guys, I always think of my podcast as like Sirius XM from the Opie Anthony show. That's what I think. So I talk about more other stuff other than just the one topic. But again, I go straight in like I'm doing a deadlock podcast, only I'm not reviewing one show. And even though I am going to review Jake Paul and his whole Caroline Dubois and Terry Harper, I'm going to save that for some other time and probably sooner. And I will talk about the Samari Yamanaka Nao Ugawa that same day. So I'm going to put the female fights in for now, just for the heck of it. So I'm going to save those topics for later. But again, I think it's going to be interesting to find out. So again, guys, I do find this interesting. I think Oscar Collazo is in a good position to fight for two undisputed champions. And guys, the minimum weight and light flyweight can bring in a huge buzz if that does happen. And I do think it's going to be a good opportunity to see that. And again, guys, when looking up information, what is this? Whoa. Oh, this is really okay. What do we have here? So I completely forgot about this. WBA, WBC, Ricardo Sandoval, unified flyweight champion with Masamichi Yabuki. I know him, IBF champion. Anthony Alascuaga, yep, he is still champion. WBO. Oh no, guys. Guys, Oscar Collazo can easily be a 3-weight class champion, but I think his weight can be at what, guys, Oscar Collazo has been at a 112 vantage, so he can go up to weight easily. He can go up to weight easily and take this competition by storm and go flyweight. He has that chance of going undefeated for a long time, so it's going to be a while before he loses his first pro fight, depending. He can do a good Ricardo Lopez thing. He's got what it takes to handle himself. He's boxed for 6 years. And I think he does have to fight bigger opposition. But if he gets the undisputed title fights as well planned, this could be a good deal. This could be a pretty good ordeal for him because Oscar Collazo is in a good position. Because, guys, the lower weight classes only have boxers that only care about fighting for one title. They don't care about anything else. They don't go unified. They don't even try to fight because there's not a lot of money in it. And there's not a lot of stars in boxing in other countries that don't have what it takes because a lot of us American fans don't know much about them. Even though I try to put them over as legit champions, Oscar Collazo has managed to make boxing in the lower weight classes a lot more entertaining. So put him into the flyweight division. And guys, even though the last time we've ever had, let me look this up. The last time we had an undisputed championship in the flyweight division, which was in the 2-weight class because a lot of Asian boxing back in the day barely didn't have a lot to it. Oh, man. Since 1968, when Horacio Acavallo was the last undisputed champion from Argentina since 1968 when the flyweight was there. Man, the undisputed champion in the 1950s and 60s were so utterly fad, man. Man, guys, whatever happened to these great fighters of Pong Kingpech fighting Harada? Man, this is amazing. Wow. I'm just out of it. I'm really out of it when looking at this stuff because this hits a lot. Like, man, this, like, I could, like, take this for what you will, but technically, I think what I see here, guys, is a lot of interesting, delicious stuff here. This right here is having a lot of interesting talent here. And even though we might not remember a lot of this, there's going to be a lot of interesting opportunities here that we're going to have a lot of great undisputed champions. Because this is going to be interesting to know what's going to happen here because this is going to be surprising. Like, the undisputed champions are really on fire right now, and I think it's going to be a lot more interesting when the time comes. So for now, it is better to let this go for now. But again, I'm going to talk about this some other time because the information I'm finding here is so big. Boy, this one's big. This one is big. This one, woo! Like, I'm sorry for wasting time here, but man, this is big. This is big. Like, I'm gonna talk about this one a good amount of times, but for now, I'm gonna let this one slide for now because I'm gonna save this one for another time because I'm not into the talking about this yet because we gotta talk about something else. Because on April the 4th, again, is gonna be doozy. Now, guys, even though we had like 3 Texas shows, a lot of indie shows and indie boxing shows on the 4th, And of course, we did had some interesting other events happening in New Mexico. But again, there wasn't a lot of great talent. But surprisingly, there is two interesting shows. Now, guys, we can talk about the show in Ukraine where two Ukrainian fighters failed to beat their opponents, where Aram Fanian, a WBF featherweight champion, lost in a DQ, even though after he dominated 10 rounds, but he disqualified himself in his country against a 15-0-1 fighter that he just cost himself the WBO Global Super Lightweight belt. While 33-5 former contender Victor Posto took on a 12-1-1 fighter from Mexico named Francisco Javier Sandova for the IBO International Super Lightweight, and the fight ended in a 10-round split decision. Seeing how that makes me feel more bad to watch than Japanese boxing not getting their opportunities and they have to fight in other people's country, or even they lose in their country, and mostly for women. That show in the Ice Palace in the Terminal in Ukraine that's the most unluckiest show ever. Like, people pay their money to see their fighter win, and you see one of them losing after dominating a fight and they disqualifying themselves, and another fight by split decision. Like, that's sad. Sad. Man. Just gets worse. It gets worse by the moment. But anyway, guys, it's time to talk about these two shows. One from Cardiff International Arena in Wales by promoter Benjamin Shalom, known as Awaken the Dragon, which was live on United Kingdom BBBC 2. And the second show in the O2 Arena in Greenwich, London, also known as the event called 100, which is by promoter Frank Warren of Queensberry, but we also have Mams Taylor and Nice Sarwin, which I do know who those promoters are. Great promoters of Misfits Boxing. And surprisingly, it just goes to show you that putting these employees in a pro show is not that good. And even though referees, judges, and people from Misfits go into a professional boxing show and working, this wasn't a good one. But I almost want to do this one first, because we're just about to talk about it. Screw it. You know what, guys? Let's start with the Cardiff show. Let's just get this out of the way before we talk about the real main event of this show. So, live in Cardiff International, British Boxing Board of Control from the Awaken of the Dragon, live on United Kingdom BBBC 2, known as the Lauren Price versus Stephanie Pineri Aquino Unified Welterweight Championship fight. So technically, the first four fights on the show were just mostly just nothing. A guy named Mikey O'Sullivan, a young kid, goes for his debut fight against a guy with a 15-30-1 record. He dominates the fight and good for a round win. The second 4-round fight was a guy with 11-1 record, Jacob Robinson. He lost against a guy named Nathaniel Collins in 2022, and that guy's still undefeated, even though his last fight in October was a split draw for the EBU European featherweight, so who knows? He goes 4 rounds the distance against a guy with a 24-40-4 record. Yuvraj Karia, an 8-0 fighter, manages to win 3 rounds to One, at 18 years old, the kid is 2 years into his career. He picks up his 9th victory against a guy named Jake Pollard. Jake Pollard has 108 professional fights in his 8-year pro career. 1 win. And that one professional win, I'll remind you, his one professional win. His one professional win. Oh my gosh. Guys, what am I watching here? This is so dumb. His one professional win took him so much. Guys, you know what makes this interesting about the anime show Wanna Be the Strongest in the World, where you have Sakura Hagiwara losing fights over and over again and she can't pick a victory? After several years, this guy picks up his first and only victory. And his record, guys, Jake Pollard had a record of 0 wins and 49 defeats. And he takes on a debut fighter since 2016. From October the 20th, 2018 to July the 15th, 2023, he fights his 50th professional fight. In 4 rounds the distance, he wins his first pro fight. So he's 1-49. Great. Just great. Now his next 57 fights after that is just going to be utter failure. Because he goes in and all these 4-round fights, some of these fights are knockout losses, but not all of them. He takes on a bunch of undefeated fighters. He can barely win 1 round in some fights and some 4-round fights, but all of them are just utter domination squash matches. Oh boy, it's so tight. And he almost won a fight in June against someone, and the scorecard was 38-37 by referee. Well, one of them was just one judge in the ring named Sean McAvoy. Jeez. And it's crazy because he almost won the fight. Like, Jake almost won because his opponent got abducted 1 point in round 4. And the score was 38-37. And again, he would take on a lot of fights, but man, this guy is crazy. And there's more fights being scheduled on the 11th of April, May the 30th, July the 24th. This guy right here is crazy. Jake Pollard has 120 followers, and this guy, 107 losses right now. And of course, Kariya did got 39-37, so Jake won one of the first rounds. 6 of his 107 losses were by knockout, but again, crazy. So the 4th and final other pro fight was Kyron Jones wins his 14th fight by a dominated 6-round fight against a 5-9 fighter, but who cares? Again, the rest of this show was utterly shocking because a 5-1 fighter named Morgan McIntosh squeaks out an unbelievable victory against the 5-0 fighter of Louise Parfit, as this guy just surprisingly defeated him in a round 3 TKO to win the BBBFC Welsh area welterweight title. The BBBFC Celtic super featherweight title was fought against a 6-0 T.O. Allen and Kane Shepard 8-0, and T.O. won by a round 5 TKO to win the belt. So seeing those 2 fights end in knockout fashion were pretty good. So again, people might not know who much of these fighters are. So because some of these fighters just fight records against nobodies. And just like the jobbers that we just talked about a few minutes ago. So seeing the last two fights where we had BBBFC British featherweight title, Reese Edwards and Gully Power, ended in a majority decision where, of course, Judge Steve Gray had it 115 and 114, and the others had it 114 even. Seeing that fight end in a draw, neither guy deserved a win. Crazy. Lauren Price, who cuts out of the spotlight, vows to go straight into competition to break everyone's nose as best as she could, even in her second pro fight when she won a knockout, and her last knockout in December of 2024 since her IBO win defense. She's going to try to dominate this fight. She's going to go straight into competition, do it for her country, and try to bring back the titles as she can be undisputed champion. Now, of course, Lauren Price has one problem. Michaela Mayer went up to super welterweight to fight for a new division. Now, of course, we already know about one other female that took one of her belts away, so pretty much. And Michaela Mayer is still WBO welterweight. Super welterweight, we had a vacant belt because, surprisingly or not, guys, the WBO super welterweight had to be on the line in female boxing against Chantel Cameron versus Michaela Kotaskova on April the 5th, tomorrow, at this time as this fight happens. So that's going to be a little bit different, but of course we don't know much about to talk about it other than Stephanie Pinera is a WBA interim champion. So both of these girls have their records on the flip-flop. Both of them have 10-0 records in each other, and with Pineri 10-3 on the other hand, 35 years old, it's going to be doozy. So both girls come into the fight, and Stephanie squeaks in round one. The problem is, guys, the judges, including Steve Gray, Freddie Raffin, and Perla Rodriguez, had no business to give this countryman a chance to have Lauren Price, a British woman in her country, fighting in Wales, to lose dominantly. They didn't want that chance to happen. This is what you get when things like this happen. Now, not all scorecards in all boxing matches this week have been all bad. Only this one does question me. But again, the scorecards cannot be terrible, depending on what scores they scored, and the judges, they did not do a good job. Because even though the right woman won the fight that day, which I do believe the right person won, again, the judging does become hilarious. So they come into the first round easily to have Aquino just try her best by trying to put in some interesting work here. Because at this moment, she's fighting a mandatory fighter. And it's not bad to suggest neither fighter should have won. And I don't know why a friggin' advertisement played, because I wasn't even trying to watch a video, for crying out loud. But again, I do find this a lot different, because you have two girls fighting for undisputed. You have Clarissa Shields outside of the ring, or I think someone that might look like her, that with all this being said, these girls fought 30 minutes of a hard fight. And like, guys, the fight was so damn entertaining. The only thing that took out of it was the fight itself. The judges. So both girls start out their jabs early in the fight. And of course, with everything going on, it wasn't all that bad in particular. But Again, Pineri was doing a good job having Lauren lose a little bit of her balance in some of the fight. And of course, both tried to study in the fight early on. Again, the first round wasn't much other than Stephanie managed to put a good effort in from each of the round. They did have clinches, and of course, they did end on putting in the good work. But in round 2, Lauren does try her best to try to fix themselves up a little bit of an attitude here. Now, guys, if I had to count how many, what rounds did I wrote close? Let me go back to my notes. Because, guys, a majority of this fight, I found like six rounds were the rounds I found close. Guys, the only rounds I found not close was round 1, which was, of course, I gave Stephanie. Guys, Stephanie's round 1 and round 5 were the most dominant rounds of the entire fight. And even though round 6 was another round, I found it for Lauren. Round 9 is what I meant to say. I just don't find any other round to be that much. These two girls were at it at each other, that any round was pretty decent. Now, again, guys, don't get me wrong. I did found some of these rounds to be convincing, in my opinion, that anyone would have had a chance and opportunity to go to town. Because, again, sorry about that. I don't know why this is happening. Again, these opportunities come in at a bright day, but again, Lauren Price does manage to put some offense into the second round, and again, they managed to do a good job. Now, again, Stephanie had some good luck in the first, but the second round, again, evened up for Lauren, and the third round was a pretty tough round for me in my case. Just for the heck of it. And just like round 4 for that case, because I had it to a piece. I thought Lauren won round 2, Stephanie had round 3, Lauren had round 4. So that was a problem. Round 5, Stephanie won. And round 6, Stephanie might have won. Maybe not. But again, there were times. There were times around pretty much. It was a hard fight. It was a tough fight that both girls were bleeding each other out. Pretty much. Because that's what we were seeing here in this fight. Now, guys, I don't want to talk much about this fight because I want to get to the heavyweight fight. But, of course, the worst was yet to come. For mostly anyone else, it would be mostly Price herself. Because eventually, the fight went on in a bloody rampage. And again, like I said before, each round had some closeness here or there, and it wasn't like it was always that dominantly for anyone. Like I said, round 7 might have been Lauren Price, and round 8 was probably a pretty much of an easy round. I thought round 8 was an easy round for Stephanie. It was still a hard-fought round for her. And the last 2 rounds, I thought Lauren might have squeaked out the last 2 rounds. Even though I had it 95 even, the entirety of that was crazy. Again, it was a hard fight for you to judge whether who won or not. So I was expecting some judging scores to be that interesting. And boy, oh boy, were they interesting. So, of course, guys, in early rounds, and of course, the first half of the fight, you have Lauren stepping around in tight circles and launching their sharp hands and having combinations and sharp like some huge shots. And again, there's times that she was walking her opponent down, and again, that's what you're seeing. And the commentators even pointed out, mostly I can't say much about this, but there were times where I'm sure some people might have forgotten about this, because last year ago, I think it was I forgot. I don't know when it was, but it was a while ago. But technically, it's not that important now. But of course, for all this being said, there were times that her body could give out at any moment, and sometimes those things can happen. But again, both girls were at each other. Coming in after 5 rounds, Lauren was getting bruised up to the face, same as Stephanie. So both girls were actually in a tight situation. They were both putting on a show of their life. So don't get me wrong. But again, it wasn't like any single round was won. Like, don't get me wrong. Lauren Price did have some sharp punches, which made me had moments, because some of those jabs were continuous points. Because those jabs could give you a little bit of a problem. Because, guys, jabs can sometimes make you win rounds. So that's how concerned I was about each of these rounds being won. Like 7 out of 10 of these rounds were pretty tough. And you have the two judges, like Steve Gray, Perla Rodriguez, 98-92, Freddie Raffin, 99-91, favoring Lauren Price to win. Why would you do this? Why would you do this? It's unfair. Like, they had so few of other fighters having problems that even looking at the scores and where I was looking at in BoxRec trying to find the scores, and when I was seeing the scores and some of the scores I was seeing from rounds, yes, something was fishy. And to be honest, guys, I even try to go back to myself and try to look up anyone else here. The officials, the matchmakers, the inspectors that were inspecting the show had no idea what they were getting themselves into. And man, it was bad. It was bad. So after 5 rounds, it's already become crazy. You come to round 6 where, again, there were grabs, there were holds, and again, there were clinches at the time. But the real story is Lauren's mouth, her right eyelid. Lauren is in a fight of her life. Like, she has a cut inside her mouth. She has a broken right eye. Stephanie is bruised, but not as worse than anything else. And every time you see them go into a corner going clockwise, you can see somewhat of a red out gashed. Sometimes Lauren Price is doing like this, and you're seeing like a dark spots around here. So it almost looks like you're seeing red liquid blood in her mouth in round 6 and other rounds in. And it just gets worse. And then in the later rounds, coming to the championship rounds, and of course, so on, because she's wearing white trunks. Lauren is wearing white trunks, by the way, but black and gold for Stephanie. Just keep that in mind. And you're seeing that there's like polka dots, like red polka dots, tiny polka dots inside her white trunks. So there is times that you can maybe see, oh, is that blood? Is that blood? So it did kind of question me there in the later rounds. Definitely. Because it looked a little bit too realistic to me to suggest that anything was good. Because guys, if you look at Lauren Price's backside and you see the white trunks, and not trying to be inappropriate here, her entire trunks in her backside is clean white. You see the front side of it, it's almost like a bunch of spots red. It's like someone painted her trunks red. It's all like it's so crazy. And in the eighth round, I'm sure they said that maybe her mouth broke or something. Again, I didn't pay attention to a lot of it. I don't know if they went to the doctors at one moment. It was, it was, it was just crazy. It was, it was crazy. And again, coming into the eighth round, you see like Stephanie, like punching in, trying to get the job done, and Lauren is going clockwise the whole time, and she's also wearing a pink bra, which is the only thing protecting her. Like it just keeping this whole side wholesome. And it's such an extreme fight. Like it almost looked like you were watching an ECW boxing match. And I thought this was a Misfits referee. And again, Stephanie's face is bruised, but not terrible. And they go to ringside with a couple rounds left, and Lauren's face is just like, how could you even suggest that any of the judges? It's just so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous that anything is just so bad. It's so bad. So about coming in about 40 or so seconds into the ninth round, announcers are trying to point out of everything that the announcers point out that this has to be the hardest contest of Lauren Price's life so far, and they're not wrong. And of course, you're having so much. Again, there's stiff jabs, punches, but again, they're both colliding their heads sometimes and clinching. So it's still a dirty fight nonetheless. Don't get me wrong, but at least it's not a wrestling match like what we're about to see here. But again, there's a lot to it. The crowd are still cheering for him. Everyone is having a great time. And again, it surprises me that they let the fight continue so much for Lauren. Again, the clinches and the things were a problem, so it was a bloody fight. It might not have been good for a lot of it, but again, you're seeing everything happening here. You're coming to the final round. She has a tissue napkin in her mouth again. It's just crazy how she continued the fight. They both hug it out in the last 2 minutes of the fight, and again, it was a tough round. You can say Stephanie won this fight. Again, you can say Lauren Price won this fight. I don't know who won the fight. I don't know who would have won the fight. Guys, if this fight took place in America, a British and Puerto Rican and said, well, technically I wouldn't say that if she was. Is she Puerto Rican? Yes, she is Puerto Rican. Oh, thank gosh. Again, if this fight took place in another country where anyone was not supported in their country, then this fight might have been close. Again, both girls start out, and of course the clinching and the grabs were problematic, and it is surprising that the referee didn't take scorings a lot into this, like point abductions. Like, point abductions would have been a lot different if someone got docked at a point. Again, everyone puts their huge discretion in. The crowd are still cheering for it. We're still seeing sharp combinations. So of course it was still a huge thing. So at the end of the day, they're still throwing everything here at the end of the day. Everyone are at their feet, and everything about this match was so in. They throw every single punch. Lauren Price ends it by throwing a couple more punches at the end and get the stuff done. They clinch, bell rings, and that's it. And of course, Clarissa Shields is outside the ring applauding as it shows on camera, and that's the end of the show. And of course, guys, the announcers' reactions are so different. So they go to the judges' scorecards. Steve Gray has it 98-92. Pearl Rodriguez 98-92. And of course, Freddie Ruffin 99-91. Favor of your winner. The crowd screams. And it just shocks me. Like, it's just so hard for me to even understand that type of understanding there. Because it's just so hard. At the end of the day, I really can't argue about whether or not anything would have been different in that fight, because seeing Stephanie win a couple rounds, but the rounds that she won easily. Now on BoxRec, guys, round 1 and round 5 were obvious wins. And 2 of the judges did score it, which were the 2 judges that had 98-92. Judge 1 gave round 3 to Stephanie, and that was it. As for the other rounds, round 5 was never scored for any of the judges favoring Stephanie. Round 8 was favored for Stephanie. So if you would have given like round 5 or anything else, because it seemed like all the close rounds, they just gave it away for the heck of it. No, Lauren had enough. Again, guys, you just seeing it was hard enough. Because, guys, I'm not saying that they took this fight away from Stephanie. But yet again, the fight was not a squash match. None of this was a squash. These 2 put their bodies on the line. Again, I said this before. I don't know who won this fight. This is a hard fight to judge. But you have these British referees coming in. That's not it. And it just gets worse the same night in another show in the O2 Arena. Because even though most of the fans think Lauren clearly won the fight, even though there were rounds where Lauren was beating her in punch because those jabs were there. And again, the only factor we do see here is that she has a cutting mouth, a swollen right eye. And people do say to themselves that, oh, I think the person that has the beautiful face at the end is the winner. That doesn't really matter. Guys, I'm not talking about whoever has a swollen face. It doesn't matter who got beat up the most. It's not who got beat the most or beat up by casually, because there's a lot of casual fans out there think that, oh, the person that got his face busted and twisted up is the loser. That's not how boxing works. You fight your hardest. And Lauren did that. So again, I can go back and watch this fight again and see what I say. Again, 98-92, 99-91 are not good scores. It's not a dominant score. The scorecards are not accurate. Should the fight be close, like 6 rounds to 4? Yeah, maybe. Should the fight almost be a draw? Yeah, it could be. And again, there were some rounds that Stephanie did won clearly. A couple rounds that were easily wins. And the judges didn't give her half of that respect. So people online that can start commenting that Lauren won easily, no, that's not true. Because I do say to myself that even though Lauren Price got beaten, this was a hard fight of her career. And even though Stephanie, like looking back at it, guys, the Puerto Rican fighter got held back, even though she did held herself back and did had moments in the fight. But again, the thing is, guys, I just find this one to be hard because 98-92 is not an accurate score, and that right there is problematic. Again, people online can have their own opinions. Lauren won the fight clearly. No, that's not true. I'm not saying that Stephanie lost this fight deservingly. This took this fight out of her. Like boxing just ruined Stephanie's career. She had that win. Again, yes, but again, Lauren did fought hard to deserve that win. And heck, and by the way, guys, even as they're interviewing Lauren Price, Clarissa Shield comes into the ring against this welterweight fighter, and I'm like, Clarissa, just go down to weight. You've already became a heavyweight undisputed. If you want to fight for light heavyweight, that would be great. If you want to go to super middleweight and fight against anyone else, because even though I guess it'll be interesting to see undisputed champion super middleweight with Shadicia Green and Franchon Cruz, that would be an interesting fight. Yeah, and then give them a trilogy fight if Franchon Cruz wins the rematch against Shadicia Green twice, only she can't beat Clarissa Shields. That would be interesting. Just do anything. And even with Lonnie Daniels, she's fighting Shadicia Green this month as well. But again, I don't know what's happening to Clarissa Shields other than the whole thing with Raleigh Romero. Guys, I am done with the whole male versus female thing. Guys, if you want to do professional bowling in the PBA and have women compete against the men, hey, do that. They got history. It's not bad. And if women want to compete in NASCAR, well, that's their own body. If they get a win, if they win a Cup Series race in unbelievable fashion, then hey, good moment. That was a good story moment. Do whatever you got to. At the end of the day, guys, I really can't even answer one thing about any of this. And even though I've talked so much about this already, it just makes me wonder why Clarissa Shields even has to be in this situation. Talking to a welterweight fighter I don't even know if her body can handle the middleweight or even super welterweight. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, Clarissa Shields has to be the woman to go down weight. Like, she's a 5'8" person, and she proved herself in the weight classes, but I think she should just go back down the weight class, take it easy from then, trying to get her body relaxed, and see what happens then. Maybe fight for a super middleweight undisputed title if Shadicia Green or Franchon Cruz fight and one of them win, and see what goes from there. And if Clarissa Shields fights for that undisputed fight, then we'll see what happens. But at the end of the day, whatever happens, it is what it is. We'll just let go our way and just end it. So it is what it is. Anyway. Crazy. So anyway, guys, the last topic today, April the 4th, O2 Arena in Greenwich. The 100th event is here. So, guys, the event, again, does have 1 4-round fight. Again, it was a 9-1 fighter, takes on 6, 22-5. Nothing much, okay? Just easy win for the good guy. A 7-1 fighter takes on a 7-0 fighter. The guy with 1 defeat gets a 3rd-round TKO against a 7-0 fighter in a super welterweight 6-round fight. And we have 4 8-round fights. The first one was a Jermaine DiHawayo versus a Jake Morgan 7-2 fighter. The 8-0 Jermaine wins a 7th-round TKO before the last round. Matty Harris 9-1 takes on Franklin Ignatius. 9-1-1 fighter, and well, of course, 2nd round KO for Maddie. And by the way, Sean McAvoy does the 2 8-round fights, and a guy named Rocky Israel did a 4-round and 6-round fight. So, and Rocky Israel did actually ref the other fight with Amir Anderson in a middleweight fight against a 6-0 fighter, takes on a 10-6 fighter. Amir scores an 8th round TKO in the last round, and Sean McAvoy was also the judge that day as well, with Marcus McDonald and Phil Edwards. Oh boy, Phil Edwards, huh? Well, we're going to have a doozy about that guy. Oh, what a doozy. And just like Marcus McDonald and Sean McAvoy, we're going to have a lot to explain about them. But guess what, guys? We do have another fighter to explain. Mark Bates. So Mark Bates refs 2 fights this night. The first one was against a 12-1 fighter named Ashton Style. He did an 8-round unanimous decision against Raul Antonio, a 15-4-2 fighter in an 8-round fight. That's all you can say. And that's about it for those fights. So the last 3 fights on the show. Denzel Bentley versus Andre Savadrell. For the WBO Interim World Middleweight Championship, it wasn't much of an interesting fight. Referee Darren Sarginson went on to ref on the fight. Technically, it was just a good deal for anyone else. The fight went on easily. Denzel managed to clobber him in the first round, and even doing good in the 3rd and 4th round as well. Surprisingly, Andre managed to put some good offense in. Like the 2nd round and the 5th round were pretty damn good for him that night. So he was putting on a good show for the fans, just for the heck of it. So, and of course, by the 6th round, which was a close round, which was good for Denzel to win. So both guys had 12 rounds of boxing into themselves. It was a good 4-2 score after 6 rounds. So it seemed like maybe there was going to be a good upset victory here. But Denzel went on to hit a victory here. And then after he scores a 7th round TKO to win out his WBO belt, to win the interim belt, he goes out to trash talk out Janibek, who, remind you, Janibek did defeat Denzel back in November of 2022 by a close 12-round fight by a couple judges for his title of WBO and WBA at the time. So Denzel Bentley losing his first fight in 2021 and went on to lose against Janibek. A year later, he loses against Nathan Hine in November of 2023 by a close majority decision, and Hine, on the other hand, lost against guys like Brad Pauls in his rematch. Yeah, there are 2 fights in 2024 that was nothing. And his loss against a nobody fighter named Jerome Warburton in March, just last week ago, which is ridiculous, which was also in the Co-op Live Arena in Manchester, which was involved with in the same show with the Moses Atama and Jermaine Franklin Jr. undercard. So that right there says a lot of competition in Great Britain for them, I'll tell you that. So Denzel loses against guys like those, and then about a week later, that guy he lost against a couple years ago loses again. So Denzel is trying to get his victory back, while Nathan Heaney, he's done for. But surprisingly, Denzel does manage to come back. He's winning fights in 2024, and by the end of December, he defeats Brad Pauls, the guy that had his match with Nathan Heaney. So good thing for Denzel to win that fight. And these were great world title wins for BBBFC, UBO, and WBO, EBU, and such. So they were great. His international WBO middleweight title was the best of it, and he did it. Unfortunately, he never fought in 2025, but this win against Andre was a good fight, a good win. Solid deal here. He wins it easily. And I think at the end of the day, I really can't say much about that other than surprisingly. Now, of course, yes, he's interim WBO champion, but is there going to be a good rematch for these two? For him and Yanibek? Well, we don't know how good Yanibek is going to be because he hasn't fought in over a year since April, and his whole drug test fail and other stuff is just getting more controversial. I feel like Yanibek might have ruined his career, but will he recover from it? I would say, I want to say maybe, but even if he goes up another weight class, I just don't see his career going anywhere decently. So, again, we'll have to wait and see. Wait and see what would happen and try to find out what will go our way. So, Vidal Riley, a 13-0 fighter, trying to get his big break in boxing. And again, this British fighter in the cruiserweight, is doing okay. Even though his first big win in 2023 in September was a good win for him against a 12-0 fighter, against Nathan Corliss. And then the win in March the next year was different. But I think after his Chivin Clark fight in April of last year was interesting enough. But I couldn't really say if he deserved to take on bigger competition. While Matthias Masternak, guys, this Polish fighter reminds me of Tommy Gunn. From 2006 to 2013, this guy's career went on to build himself a hype job record of 30 wins. And he did not get one single title shot in his career. And at that time, he was a WBC International Champion silverweight about some months ago in April of 2013, an EBU champion, an IBO champion. And it's like, he's 30-0. Where's the money? Where's the title shot? Like, we haven't made any money. It just seems like this Polish fighter, Masternak, just had nothing good into him. He had no good idea. It was just not going his way, and he had no opportunity. He takes on Gregory Draws, his first big, tough opponent for the EBU title, and loses. In a battle, of course, by round 11 TKO. But of course, did it stop him? Well, no. He would continue boxing in 2024, win some fights, and surprisingly, he would fight for the WBA Cruiserweight interim title, which he would lose by split decision against a guy named Yuri Kalenga. Surprising. And this would just get worse for his career because by the end of that year, 2015, he loses against guys like Johnny Muller, Tony Bellew. And again, he's fighting for winning WBA regional titles. He wins even other belts later in the years, like the WBO European belt against his rematch opponent of what the frig? Against Yuri Kalenga for the European belt, and then loses his opportunity in October against Yuniel Dorticos, another tough fighter at the time, and who would also fight in the Boxing Super Series, so can't say much about that. But again, that's what you get. So, of course, with that being said, there was nothing good into this guy's career. Like, Masternak had no good opportunity. He had nothing in it. His opportunities were done. But of course, in 2021, he goes for an Intercontinental IBF belt against Adam Bauski, which we will talk about him about some other time, maybe some other time, because again, there's some interesting stuff that we might not know. But again, he's still, like, he's won multiple regional titles. And then in 2023, he defeated some good undefeated fighters at that time. And then Chris Smith beats him up after 8 rounds. He had to retire due to a broken rib injury for the WBO Cruiserweight title. Now, of course, it wasn't a dominant fight. Masternak did dominate the fight while hurting him in round 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and even in, surprisingly, after 1 and 7 was a round for Chris, I had 68-65. A couple judges had it as well, and one had it even 67, but still, Masternak was winning the fight. The problem was this fight happened in Great Britain. And of course, coming into round 8, they stopped the fight because of his rib. They never went to technical scorecards. Just wasn't there. So that just upsets me why that has to be the reason for that. I don't know why. I just don't know why. I really don't know why it just had to be that way. Why Chris Smith kept his title. Why did they not go to technical decision? I just don't know. I don't know why, like the Phil Perkovich fight with Daniel Dubois, it would have been good if they would have been like, oh, the fight would have ended like a technical decision. If that was the case, why did Jack Catterall and Harlem Eubank, Chris Eubank Jr.'s other brother in boxing, like why did that had to turn into a whole ridiculousness of, oh, Jack Catterall got injured in his face, so they stopped the fight. Harlem Eubank was okay, but they didn't stop it for him. But they went to technical decision. And for some reason, he won the fight in Great Britain. Why? Like, Harlem Eubank was losing the fight, but again, they stopped the fight because of Jack Catterall. They stopped the fight of the Chris Smith and Masternak fight because of his rib injury. And he was winning the score fight. He was winning the fight. And they still give the belt to Chris? And then you go out of your way for Phil Perkovich and Daniel Dubois. And for some reason, it was like, hey, we're going to give you the win. Friggin' Daniel Dubois wins, but we're not going to technical decision. I don't understand why the Great Britain are becoming such idiotic people. Guys, I've said this before during the time, and I'll say it again. It seems like these people are clinically moronic because it just seems like they have no idea what they're doing. I just don't see anything interesting about why these people are like this. I don't know why. I just don't know why people have to have that type of incompetence. Because, guys, why are people like this? Philip Perkovich would have deserved to defend out his IBF interim title. Chris Smith should have never won out his title against Masternak. He was winning by scores after 7 rounds, and they still had it, even though they didn't go to scorecards. Ridiculous. Come in. 1 sec, I'll be back. Oh, crap. All right, I accidentally pressed my stop button there, and I completely forgot what I was going to talk about. But anyway, guys, back for that interruption today, guys. I wish it was in the radio set, guys, because I wish if a celebrity came by, that would have been great. Like I said before, guys, I do like to try to pretend I'm doing Sirius XM content right now with Opie and Anthony if I wanted to. So sad that won't happen. But again, guys, like I said before, Masternak would make a comeback in 2024, and 2025 was his good win for his EBU title, so I thought maybe that'll be good. So I wouldn't really say it was bad, so I wouldn't say it was bad, but again, it was not as bad as it is. Mm-hmm. But all in all, I think with guys, considering it was his 20th anniversary, I would say Masternak had an okay 20-year career, but it wasn't that special than Mike Tyson's 85 to 2005. So 2006 to 2026, I can't say much about that, but all in all, his 20-year pro career makes you think he should have went out with a bang. His loss against Vito Riley by an utter domination 12-round fight wasn't that good in context, but it is what it is. But for the real, we'll just have it beginning to end. Finally, Derek Chisora and Deontay Wilder. Guys, I have seen some interesting things before, and this might be one of them. With all perspective, guys, the build-up with Deontay Wilder and Derek Chisora is like watching an utter professional fight turning into an extreme professional wrestling match. Guys, this match is almost like British fighters just out of nowhere trying to screw this guy in every point, only they failed. Guys, this is so ridiculous. It makes you wonder why. But again, I look at all of this and I say to myself, just crazy. And I say this is crazy, and guys, I'm going to roll through this as best I could. Guys, there's a lot of minor stuff here, guys. And guys, there's going to be a lot of moments I'm going to completely forget about. And guys, I should have wrote so much stuff down, but guys, I've seen so much stuff, I didn't know what to write down. Because guys, what I saw in this entire fight was, there were so many errors. I thought I was looking at an utter... Guys, I thought I was looking at a fight that looked so ironically bad. Like, don't get me wrong, guys. Like, in all honesty, take this for what you will. Because, guys, what I see here is such an utter disaster. This fight starts out in the first round is just two guys banging, hitting each other. You got an American fighter that's not a clincher, even though we do see sometimes he's clinched, where in times you have this other person from Great Britain, born in Zimbabwe of Africa, having title shots. He does not get the title shot for IBF. And you think to yourself, man, what would have it been like if they actually gave the title shot a vacant title shot? Would Derek Chisora not weigh 266 and he would have taken this fight clearly, easily? Or would it have been a lot different if it would have been like, man, what if Wilder would have fought for this belt? What if they would have just given them an opportunity for the heck of it? Like, I'm just saying, possibilities can happen, but again, but what makes this fight so hilarious, you have a fighter that's, so guys, here it is. You got an American fighter that has problems, American fighter that is an orthodox fighter, but he spreads his legs so much that his stances are so wide, he loses his balance easily. You have a British fighter that has his trainer entering the ring with only 15 seconds to go, but they don't disqualify him because there's a British referee, 3 British judges, and this fight's in Britain, and Derek Chisora is British, and with all of that, they're making this so, like, I don't know what to say about that. It's so ridiculous that what I see here is just such an utter catastrophe here. And there's one moment in the fight where we have Deontay Wilder, they're trying to wrestle each other, and they almost get pulled over the ropes like a Royal Rumble style. And there's a time when you knock out Derek Chisora, and by the way, guys, Derek Chisora hits the ground canvas a bunch of times, a lot of the knockdowns are slips. Mark Bates is not a professional referee in any standard for pro boxing. You have Derek Chisora's trainer, again, entering the ring, how many times he's done it, and they don't even disqualify the fight because it's Britain. They can do whatever they want to with their fighter. As long as Deontay Wilder's team doesn't do it, then everything will be fine. You have Deontay Wilder, and there's one moment in the fight when Deontay Wilder comes out of nowhere. He's about to throw a huge left uppercut, but Jarek just gets out of the way. And just to let you guys know, Deontay Wilder hesitates so much of his punching that he doesn't let his right hand go all the time. But there's that moment where you have him throwing that left uppercut, and then, he punches himself in the face, for crying out loud. And the funniest part about it, after all of that, the last round of the fight, you have the audience in the background. A riot has taken place, and you see security guards and police officers in the background out of nowhere, just running over there to have the conflict to escalate, not resolved. Why? Because in the 11th round, now just to let you guys know, Deontay Wilder scored a knockout legit in the 8th round by Chisora. And when the fight starts, Chisora is about to do his move where he goes to a corner ring or something and go to the ropes. And then he starts mind tricking the fighter from charging after him. And Wilder does not engage. He just takes his time, waiting for a moment. And then he goes right punch. And then Chisora finally goes down. And when he gets back up, Mark Bates deducts Wilder a point. Why? For punching in the back of the head? It was not a knockout? Or did he even put his body to his full strength, his full arms on Chisora, which is why he went down? Was he even warned for that fight? I don't know. And again, there was one moment around the time of the fight where before the end of the round, there was one moment in round 7, which was the most calmest round or something. I think it was round 6 or 7. It was round 7, where Chisora and Wilder are taking it easy for themselves. They're doing so many clinching and other stuff. And out of nowhere, as the round is about to come to an end, Chisora, out of nowhere, does his taken. He's going to take a dive. It's a slip. And for some reason, he grabs onto Wilder to go with him, and his face gets pummeled to the ground. It's such a scary scene. I'm like, what the frig? It's so horrendously bad, but yet again, it's ridiculous. And I just can't understand the level of fortitude for the ridiculousness it is. Like, take that for what you will. It's ridiculous. And again, guys, in round 11, where Wilder scores a knockdown, where Chisora gets his body to the legs and he gets below the second, lower in the second middle ring, because there's 4 ropes. In WWE and professional of AEW and WCW and other professional wrestling shows, they have 3 ropes, one here, and one here, a bottom, middle, top. In boxing, they have, you guessed it, they only have a top, a first middle, a second middle, and a bottom. Chisora goes right in the middle of it. And he's going like in a seesaw manner, where in those old school style pro wrestling where you have someone holding onto the rope, he's getting punched seesawing. I'm sure some people might not know, but I did remember there is one moment in the first ever Royal Rumble in 1988 where a move had happened like that. I don't know what they call it, but it's so crazy of how they did it. But man, it's so good that you gotta believe it. I'm surprised they even called that a knockdown. And just to let you guys know, there's only 50 seconds left of the fight when that fight ended in a knockout. So for some ridiculous reason, 30 seconds later, with only 25 seconds left of the fight, he comes out of nowhere. Chisora sets up this right punch, and it hits Wilder's shoulder. That it didn't connect the punch, but Wilder's balance goes off balance because of that, because of hitting his shoulder. So he hits his face right down the canvas, and the crowd in the background go bananas. Everyone is cheering on, and the referee Mark Bates tells Chisora to go to a neutral corner. but he does not count as a knockdown. He never called it a slip, but he never even said. He just says, "Are you all right?" And they let the fight continue. That's when I realized what the heck is going on. Are they trying to let him win, or are they trying to let Chisora not win a fight? Like, what's the point? Like, guys, my point is, can you imagine this if this fight took place, if this was for the vacant IBF heavyweight title fight? There's no way that incompetent people would ever do that. And I guess they did it because Deontay Wilder was going to continue fighting and Chisora was going to retire. This is his last fight. So I can't say much about that. Again, it makes you wonder, there has to be something going on here. And of course, I guess that makes sense why the riot broke out, because people were upset that knockout didn't count for Wilder getting punched in the last 20 seconds of the 11th round. And even in the 12th and final round, they're both going at each other like a bang. And I'll be honest, seeing how that fight ended with a bang, don't get me wrong, it is surprising to just see all of that as it is. I will say this though. I wish I could talk about the fight from start to finish, but if I do, we would be here all day. But my voice is so broken, I can barely talk because of it. Again, guys, the only thing I didn't like about it is that the fight comes to an end, and Liam Gull, one of the people YouTubers that reacted, believe that this fight should have ended in a unanimous decision. It's like, to be honest, if the point abduction and other stuff didn't happen, I would say maybe. But yet again, I can't say for certain if there were possibilities. Jeez Louise. Oh, man. Guys, I think the only thing I have to say about this fight is just crazy, because it's so... Guys, there's so much competence here. Wilder... Don't get me wrong, guys. There were some good moments in this fight. Guys, the reason I give this main event fight 2.5 stars out of 5, or like 5 out of 10, is that it's an awesomely bad heavyweight boxing match, which has these wild moments and unbelievable moments that it makes you look like you're not watching a boxing fight. And it's so entertaining for all the reasons. It makes you wonder what you're looking at. And surprisingly, what's actually funny about this is, what's actually really funny about this that makes me laugh about it is that it's bad. This boxing fight, this fight was so bad for all the wrong reasons. And let me explain it to you. Guys, let's just say that we're watching not a WWE show, but maybe a WCW show or an ECW show, which involved like tables match or something, or a ladder match or other stuff, or like TLC, for instance. Let's just say that there's moments in the fight where like, a ladder got busted and then someone has to find a new one under the ring. Or there's a moment in a wrestling match where you have two guys trying to go for a spot and one of them botches it while the other took a good clothesline for it, even though he wasn't supposed to clothesline it, even though he didn't get hurt by it. And the referee and everyone thinks, "Oh, are you blind, ref? Oh, you're an idiot." And then you have the ending of the match. Like, guys, let's just say that the finish of a match is that I'm going to get on top of the turnbuckle. I'm going to dive onto you on a table. But then someone behind me, which is going to be one of their tag team partners, is gonna shove my butt with his hand and let me fall onto the table and break it, which was a spot. I did it perfectly, but guess what? The table just bounces off of me like Sonic on a boing, And then they try to call it audible. It's like, oh, okay, body slam me through a table like Andre the Giant with Hulk Hogan. And guess what? The table doesn't break. And say, oh yeah, I'm going to use a ladder to climb up a ladder and we're going to go for it. And then guess what? The referee tries to hold it and then boom, one of the support systems of the ladder breaks and then the whole thing breaks apart. Well, what the heck are we supposed to do here? It's so bad. It's so entertaining. And then they have to call in an audible for someone doing a DDT and bam, that's it. And then after the match, someone can go through a table and the table will finally go clunk and the table breaks. That's what this Deontay Wilder versus Derek Chisora fight reminds me of. It's an awesomely bad match, but all of these random dumb things are so bad with Mark Bates as the referee and Phil Edwards, the guy that was responsible for the split decision draw with Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder in 2018 in their first meeting, is in this fight as well. And of course, guys, the judging scorecards is this. Sean McAvoy scores at 115 to 111 for Wilder. Phil Edwards, 115 to 112. Chisora. Marcus McDonald had it 115 to 113. Wilder. Guys, I had it scored 113 to 112. I had Chisora winning round 1. Fury definitely had round 2 and round 3. Don't get me wrong, guys. The second and third round were good rounds where Wilder kind of did hurt Chisora. And guys, the time when Chisora was throwing great punches, Wilder took them. Keep that in mind. He took them like a boss. And you have round 4 and round 5 for Chisora and Wilder in round 6 dominating. Like the first 6 rounds were good. And Liam Gohl saying that this fight should have been a unanimous decision, without the point abduction round 8, maybe. And of course you go to round 7, which was a hard round for me to say, but I thought Chisora, so I gave it to him. Round 8 was a knockout, but of course the point abduction, so it was a 9-8 round for Wilder. Round 9 was a good round for Wilder. And guys, I will say this though. Guys, the last 3 rounds of the fight were so amazing. Even though Chisora was 266, Wilder was 226, and even though, guys, Chisora was the heaviest, 266 was the heaviest of Chisora's career. He comes into this fight, he's already tired, and even though Wilder had better energy in the last 3 rounds, dude, Chisora was still going after Wilder. Jeez. Guys, in round 10 was so amazing that Chisora was so tired. And even though Wilder was landing punches, the championship rounds were still good. Like, Chisora was so tired, but he was still laying great punches and landing good punches in the 10th round that I almost had for him. In round 11, Chisora was getting a little bit tired more, but he was still landing punches on Wilder. And by the way, guys, there was one other moment, I think in round 3, I'm going to assume it was round 3, where during the last seconds of the fight when Chisora got hurt and Wilder went in and tried to punch him so many times and then they started clinching on and Mark Bates goes in and pushes Wilder away and then Bates says continue and then he looks at Chisora and Chisora has his left arm shoulder on one of the ropes next to the corner and his right hand is like, oh, no mas, no mas, no mas, no. He's shaking his head, no mas, no mas. Mark Bates sees it. He puts his right hand to stop Wilder from engaging, but Deontay doesn't care because these are British a-holes. So he just goes in and just beats the living crap out of Chisora, even though the referee just said hold it. Because Chisora is not even ready. He's going, oh, no mas, no mas, no mas. What are you doing, for crying out loud? Just stop the fight. Like, dude, that was another crazy moment. And again, grab moments. He even grabs Wilder and puts him down in a WWE. They do a body slam going over the rope. Like, they almost went over the ropes at one point. Chisora's manager, I did say his trainer did enter in the ring, I guess, again, because he almost got his buddy disqualified. And they think the British people can just let it accept it because Chisora's British. He's from Zimbabwe. Derek Chisora is born in Zimbabwe, Africa. He's not British. Jeez Louise, man. It's so bad. It's oh man. And guys, again, in round 11, that whole situation of Wilder, and again, round 10 was for Chisora. But again, that knockout in round 11 was so wild of how Chisora, he didn't hit the ground. He was just stuck between the middle ropes, as I just said 5 or so minutes ago, and then should have scored the knockout on Wilder. Still, again, that knockout in round 11 sealed the deal for me. And even though round 12 was a good finisher for Chisora, so I gave it to him, it was a good fight. But again, guys, here's the problem I didn't like about the entirety. The aftermath. So Wilder goes in, he's just saying, oh, I didn't want to hurt Chisora. Oh, I didn't do it. Guys, at least Deontay Wilder wasn't doing all that crap about this or that. At least he wasn't, guys, I'm not going to say the word of what Deontay Wilder was during his interviews in the past he did. So at least Deontay Wilder didn't have any other crazy stuff to say, other than my least favorite part was him saying that I didn't want to hurt Chisora. I'm telling Chisora, do this for your family. I don't want to hurt you, man. Dude, Wilder was hurting Chisora in round 11. He was trying to hurt him. So you're saying I want a body on my record? And after this fight, you're telling Chisora, no, I don't want to hurt you, man. Do this for your family. Leave. Don't box anymore. I don't want to hurt you anymore. Go back to your family, man. Dude, Wilder was already beating the crap out of Chisora in the last couple rounds. Well, maybe not, but he was still hurting Chisora because he was in an opportunity for a champion here. So, of course, Wilder was going to try to beat him up. That's one of my least favorite moments there for Wilder on commentary. And, of course, with Jared Chisora and everyone, the crowd's booing, and even though there's some fans going, oh, Derek Chisora, but at this moment, the damage was done. I think my final thought about this was just let it go. Let it go. That's all I could say. Like, forget about the frost, forget about the movie. Don't make a meme out of that, please. Don't make a meme out of it. Just don't. Just let it go. And by the way, one other thing. Deontay Wilder is now calling out for Anthony Joshua to fight. Anthony Joshua is being trained by Alexander friggin' Usyk. And Usyk said he has 3 fights left. Before he fights Daniel Dubois in a rematch last year, he said he had 2 fights left. And then weeks before the fight happened, he said, after I beat Dubois twice, then 2 fights left. Now we're going to say that, oh, he's going to have a fight with Wilder. Nope. And then goes on to say, well, hey, now I'm going to fight Rico Verhoeven. Oh, great. He says he has 3 fights left. It's going to be all Rico Verhoeven. So now we have 2 fights left. And the other one will be the winner of Dubois or Wardley. And I hope it's Wardley. And Greedy Belly Fury. Just shut up, Usyk. Just hang up the glove. And the worst part is he said that Anthony Joshua will be undisputed next year in 2027. So vacate your titles. Forget about everything. Guys, I'll accept the Rico Verhoeven fight because good, make history, whatever. If Dubois wins Wardley, screw that fight. Don't fight. Screw it. I hope Makhmudov ends Fury's career. Again, just forget about all of that. Fight Wilder or have it. Even if Daniel Dubois or Wardley fight each other, and if they do and have a win, they say that Moses Atama will be their next fight. We're already having talks that even though if Wilder already wins, then he's going to have to face the winner for the mandatory of Frank Sanchez and Richard Torres. Dude, there's so much wild information here that I'm tired of repeating it. It's so ridiculous. So Wilder is in the IBF rankings, but we're not going to wait for that until next month. So that's all I have to say. So anyway, guys, as I'm recording this video, I'm sure in Japan, they're already doing the whole event for Samira Yamanaka Naogawa. I will get to that soon, but I will also talk about another show. So I can't even talk straight. Oh my gosh. Deontay Wilder is in a situation that, guys, people say, does Deontay Wilder or Derek Chisora deserve their shot? They're in their 40s, and even though Deontay Wilder's fought in professional boxing for 18 years now, good luck if he does. But again, just accept it. He might not have what it takes. If Deontay Wilder does have a couple more years left until 2028 and has his 20-year pro career done, I would be like, okay, but we don't know what his last 2 years of 2027, 2028 are going to be. Is he going to win another fight? Better yet, guys, is he going to wait another year until March or so if he's going to fight? Maybe have the winner to face Richard Torres or so, because I don't think Anthony Joshua, there's no way. I guess Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, I guess. But again, both of the guys are not on their primes anymore. Neither is Tyson Fury. All of this is just done for. Just give their consolations and that's it. All I could say about this is that this show did bring a lot of surprisingness to it. And that's all I have to say. There's so much other stuff in this show. I really can't say to myself that it's going to be worth it. But again, I will be interested to see whether or not any of this can go to play. But yet again, whatever is going to happen, let it be that way for a while. We're just going to have to wait and see what's going to happen in the next few days. For now, guys, I will record another podcast as soon as I can, maybe tomorrow, and this might take some days until I get this one through. Until then, I will review the 2 shows of Samaria Yamanaka and Naogawa if there is fight footage of it, but I'll just review it just for the heck of it, just to see what the new females of atomweight boxing is. And I hope Naogawa wins as I'm recording this video. If Samaria Yamanaka wins and defeats the undefeated fighter, then I'm just going to have to accept it. But it is what it is. At least one of the Japanese women are going to win. Hope it doesn't end in a draw. That will bring my blood pressure to friggin' volcano. I might not live very long. So yeah, guys, I will go on doing the Naogawa and Samaria Yamanaka next time, and Caroline Dubois and Terry Harper show. The entirety of them. We'll see what happens next time. But with now, I'll see you guys next time. Forgive my impergnosity and my slandering of gibberish words. But we're human beings. We're not robots. So get used to it. With that being said, see you next time.